Up until this point, and also going forward, I have been an advocate of a new socio-economic order that prioritizes liberty, sustainability, and public health. Up until this point, I have referred to this new system as a resource-based economy. This is fine when discussing matters of economics, but it doesn't encapsulate the other aspects of society, such as culture, social structure, education, health, and many other things. In this video, we're going to be exploring the idea of community, as well as its meaning in different aspects of life, and why community is a better description of the social systems we want to realize. When talking about the idea of community, not a lot of people realize that the word's meaning can be applied to a variety of organic and human-constructed forms of organization, where its parts interact and affect each other part. Using this definition, the word community could be applied to almost anything. You could say that pistons and spark plugs are members of the communal entity we call engines. But what people like me are primarily concerned with is community in the form of social organization, or society. We human beings require resources to live and flourish. Thus, we need a way of distributing these resources throughout the human community. An economy is the backbone of any form of social organization. In community, this would take the form of a resource-based economy, a partially cybernetic economy free of money, debt, trade, or servitude that emphasizes access, cooperation, sustainability, and the act of gift instead of trade. Because of aspects of a resource-based economy, such as gift exchange, the sharing of ideas and information via open source, and the sharing of goods via free access, we can effectively call it an economic community, or at least the economic aspect of community, because at the core of community is the notion of interdependence, which is the notion that all members of a community depend on each other to survive and thrive. A shining example of this is nature and the natural world. Humans are part of a complex community of plants, animals, insects, even the microbes on your skin. Ecology is the community of all living things, and we are not exempt. We depend on many other organisms and natural processes in order to survive. Without rainforests like the Amazon producing oxygen for us to breathe, we suffocate. Without bees cross-pollinating plants that make the growth of many foods possible, we starve. We are part of a community of living things, and if we value our survival and the survival of other members of this community, then it should be our responsibility to hold sustainability as one of our highest priorities. Furthermore, studies have shown that interaction with nature and the natural world, as in interacting with other members of the ecological community, has benefits for our physical, mental, social, and emotional health, such as the study from the Natural History Museum titled "Disconnect from Nature and its Effect on Health and Well-Being." In community, we will have an economic and social model that does not think itself separate from the natural world, but instead has a symbiotic relationship with ecology. This can mean integrating more green space into our living systems, making the most of our resources, and respecting the dignity and importance of other members of the animal kingdom. Today, we live in a world of social conflict and segregation. This is seen in how we view different cultures, how we interact with each other, etc. Today we are divided by arbitrary borders that are often not based on natural features or cultural differences. So why even have these borders at all? Even when taking those two prior things into consideration, I find that to be a pretty weak justification. Zooming in, we find that social anxiety is becoming more and more common, and people are becoming more distrusting of others. Today, we don't have community. We call people we know little about strangers, and many of us view strangers with either neutrality or as a potential threat. Some of us also feel this way about groups of people with different cultures and attitudes, and seek to homogenize their immediate environment. What is community's answer to this social antagonism? The answer is social cohesion. In community, we would embrace social and cultural diversity through a few specific methods. By having a free marketplace of ideas, we allow individuals and groups to express themselves freely, openly, and to their fullest potential. We could have a community of cultures where people who want to live a certain way or have a specific interest can live in a culture that embodies that. I talked about how this could be made possible later on in my civic design episode, namely through having different communities dedicated to specific needs, interests, cultures, etc. In community, we won't use retribution to punish hostile behaviours. Instead, through social cohesion, we will aim to prevent acts of violence from occurring in the first place, and will use a scientific and solutions-based approach to counter these issues, whether it be fulfilling economic needs, conflict resolution techniques, or otherwise. We will design environments that encourage social interaction, so that people get to know and become more comfortable with other members of their community, and so we can create a social interdependence that fulfills people's need for social interaction. With all that said, as a new social model, what is community? It's an economy of efficiency, sustainability, cooperation, and sharing, a resource-based economy. It's a culture of free and autonomous expression, a community of cultures. It's a pro-social society of interdependence and social cohesion, and it's one that respects and has a symbiotic relationship with ecology and the natural world. An economic community, a social community, and a cultural community, in accordance with the ecological community, make up what we can collectively call community, an entirely new social system. Looking at the future, I want to diversify my content, and part of this will involve me expanding upon the different aspects of community and resource-based economies. In my next installment, we're going to be discussing one of the most common criticisms about resource-based economies / community. For now though, I hope you've enjoyed this installment. If you like this video and want to see more content, then click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Sharing this content helps ideas like community and RBEs gain exposure, and also helps the channel grow. If you want to find out more about resource-based economies, then please go check out some of my other content. I have an entire series dedicated to explaining the fundamentals of resource-based economies. But this is all from me. I've been your host, Adam. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all soon.